Okay, so I was just saying that we did oral last lesson, and we are also going to do oral this week. Okay, the reason why we're doing it now is because either way it's after your WAs and it's the holidays, right? So I think we'll just take this period to go through things that we don't usually cover. Usually during school term we'll be covering things like compre and compo because we just want to get you ready for your WAs and your end of year exam. Okay, so for like components like oral, we'll usually do it like just right before your oral exam during that period, or either that or we'll spend the holidays doing it. Okay, so today will still be on oral communication. Like I mentioned last week, I think you are familiar now that the syllabus has changed, as in not really the entire syllabus, but mainly the exam format has changed for oral. Okay, so it's a lot more about like planning a response and also being able to communicate effectively with the examiner, right? But still today we will still be focusing on pronunciation and enunciation. So you might be thinking, but I thought the reading aloud section is already been removed, right? But yes, it has been removed, means you no longer need to like read out a passage and then they will basically assess you based on like your pronunciation and all, and your pace, your volume, your rhythm. But I still do think that it's important that you can pronunciate and enunciate properly. Because either way, if you are communicating with the examiner, you still need to pronounce properly, right? Even if you're having a conversation, it's just like we are talking now. We still need to make sure that the words or even the sentences you are saying out are easily they are basically easy to comprehend, okay, by others who are listening to you. Okay, so that's the reason why today we are focusing on pronunciation and enunciation, right? Okay, so in terms of pronunciation, we are looking at consonant sounds. Okay, consonant sounds like, for example, okay, medial and ending sounds of words. Basically, okay, maybe later on I'll give you an example, but over here we have an example on the screen, which is your 3 and your 3. So do you realize that the consonants sound the, 3, and t, 3. So it actually makes a difference, right? Okay. So of course we don't call the plant tree and we don't call the number 3. And as in we don't call the tree, we don't call the tree 3, right? The plant. We call it tree instead of 3. And now of course we call the number 3 instead of 3. Okay, so that's why it's important. Yeah. Okay, then we're going to move on to some examples here. So when we talk about consonant sounds, those are represented by like phonetic symbols such as, these are not all, because there are definitely more than 5 consonant sounds. Okay, but generally these are just examples. For example, b. Okay, you see the letter B, when they put 2 slashes at the side, it actually means it's a sound. It's a phonetic sound. Okay, so what they're trying to say is that the consonant sound can be found at the beginning, the center, and the end. So the sound B is actually B, right? So if it's at the beginning, it will be big. If it's in the middle, it will be cabbage. And then if it's at the end, it will be tub. But a lot of students, they don't pronounce the last ending consonant sound. They will say, okay, tub, because the sound B is actually B. So you must have the B sound at the back. So it's tub. Okay. Then of course we have our second example, which is your P sound, your P sound, right? P is a consonant, so P. So you can start with part, then in the medial sound will be report, and then your ending sound will be tap. Okay, again, some people they do not pronounce, they do not emphasize on the P sound at the back. So it should be tap. Okay, tap. Then of course you have your T. T is also another consonant sound. So it can be toy, rattle, or pet. Okay, again, a lot of students, they do not pronounce the t sound at the back. Yeah. Then D, duck, ridden, and mend. Okay, mend. C, okay, K is actually a k sound. But sometimes when you spell the words out, they don't start with K. Like, for example, cat. But the sound is a k sound. Cat. K. Okay. Token. And of course, panic. Right? So like I said, all these are not the only consonant words. We are just using some as an example. Okay, so you have to be mindful when you pronounce certain words, even when you are conversing with someone, with your examiner, because you are actually marked on pronunciation, even for the conversation part. Okay, the oral communication part. Yeah. Okay. Now we've done consonant sounds. We're gonna move on to vowel sounds. Okay, I know some of you might have learned this, like, in primary school for phonics and everything, but still some students are just unaware. Like I said just now, the tap and the thumb. A lot of students, they don't emphasize on that. Okay. Oh, Kieran is here. Let's see. Okay, now, so in terms of vowels, Kieran, are you there? Let me see. Oh, connecting to audio. Hi, Kieran. We are going through oral today as well. Last week was oral. This week will also be going to be oral. Then after that, next week we'll go back to some other components. Okay. And I was just telling the rest that we usually do oral during like holiday period, or sometimes just right before your oral exam, your end of year oral exam. Okay. Anyway, so we actually just covered consonant sounds. We are starting from a smaller unit, which is from a sound, okay, a phonetic sound. Then we're going to move on to how do we actually pronounce words. And then after that, how do we pronounce like phrases or sentences? Okay, so we start from the smallest unit first. Okay, now in terms of vowel sounds, actually there are two types. One of it is long vowel. The other one is short vowel. So this very good example would be your sheep, right? The baba sheep. And then after that, of course, you have your ship. Okay, so if you notice, the E sound is actually short. It's a short vowel in ship. Whereas it's a long E sound for sheep, right? So in this case, yeah, it's basically both same symbol actually, but it's an I. The symbol is an I, but you have long and short. Yeah. So some examples of short vowels, like for example, your A is as in the symbol is a letter A, but the sound of this phonetic symbol is actually, right? Cat. So that's the sound. Okay, it's the beginning sound, it's a middle sound here. Then of course you have your E, it's represented by letter E, is actually sound. So elephant and bed. Okay, a lot of students pronounce it as bed, bed, bed. Okay, it's not eight. The sound is not A, it's eh. So it's bed. Okay. Then after that, we have letter I, which is just now the example, right? The sheep and ship example. So letter I is actually in and sit, the E sound. Okay. Then we have letter O, which is oct sound. So octopus or cord. And then you have your U, which is your sound. So us and duck, right? Okay, so all these actually are short vowels. Oh, I think this one, there's an error. Wait, hold on a second. Okay, these are actually not short vowels. These are actually long vowels. Okay, let me just edit it. Yeah, I think it's a typo error. Okay, examples of long vowels, for example, your just now was ah sound, right? But this one is ah. So you see there's actually a dragging of the sound, right? Ah. So arcade, far, spa. So it's a long ah sound. Okay. Then you have your E as well, like early, bird, and purr. Sound. Okay, then easy, So you can actually pay attention to the dragging of E, right? So easy, feet, thirsty. So there's a dragging. Then lastly will be your oo sound, right? So ooze, moon, and flu. Okay, so just be mindful. I think as we go along, most schools might not go through sounds anymore. They expect you to know since primary school, I would think. Okay, but sometimes we just, we lost touch with it and then we become mindless about it. Okay. So we are done with consonant sound and vowel sounds. We are going to now move on to voiced and voiceless sounds. So what do we mean by voiced and voiceless? If you were to pronounce the letter F, which is f, okay, you can put your hands on your throat. If you say f, you will feel that your throat is not vibrating. Okay, you can try that. Yeah. Anyway, I can't see you doing that. Okay, if you want, you can turn on your video to show me how you do it. Okay, so if you pronounce F, it's actually, you'll feel that your throat is not vibrating because your voice box is not open. So it's a voiceless sound. Sound is a voiceless sound. Now, we'll try V now. Okay, if you say V, right? Hi, Kit Ming. Okay, if you try V, letter V, you realize that your throat is vibrating. Okay, because that is a voiced sound, right? One is voiceless, one is voiced. Okay, so when we pronounce feel and veal, actually is different in terms of the sound. Okay, so this one I think, this one as well, I think it's repeated, so I can delete one of this. Oopsie. Okay, so in terms of like voiceless, you can try p, letter P, p, t, s, k. All these are voiceless sounds. They don't have the vibration in your voice box. Okay, p, t, s, k, right? No vibration. Yeah. Okay, so some more examples, like for example, F and V just now, we did feel and view, right? So this is fault and vault. Fairy and very, then safe and save, right? And then we have your S and Z, Sue and zoo, lacy and lazy, bus and buzz. K and G, kite and guide, ankle and angle, lock and leg, or log. I think this should be log. Okay. Okay, now here are some rules concerning using voiced and voiceless sounds to sound out the past tense and plural markers. Okay, so the final sound of cat, what do they mean by this? If let's say you change the word to a past tense. So of course, when we pronounce the word cat, okay, this one is cat. Right, we will have the voiceless P at the back, right? Cap, cap. So when we add the past tense marker ed, that means we put an ed at the back, it becomes capped. Do you realize that it's not capped? It is kept. The end, the last sound is actually a T. So there are certain rules that there has to be a line. Okay, so kept. There's a T sound at the back. So instead of kept, right? Yeah, sounds like kept actually. There are certain English words that sound the same. Okay, they sound the same, but the meaning is different. Okay, so let, cooked, kicked. So all this ends with T actually when you put the past tense marker in it. Okay. Okay. Now some other examples would be like, for example, cats. Cats. When we add the plural marker S, it becomes basically with S. This one is quite straightforward. You add S. Okay, now we have covered pronunciation for voice and voiceless. We've covered plural and consonant. Now we're going to move on to stress.